A Giants podcast for Giants fans
by Giants fans.
From the offseason to the wins and the losses, it's time to take one Giants step.
Welcome in to One Giant Step. It's the Week 2 preview edition. It's the Giants and the Dallas Cowboys, a game we've circled for months, and a game that has a lot of negativity around it, and boy, oh boy, did the Giants deserve that negativity. I'm Shaun Morash. He's Bryce Gelman. And we're going to try to channel some good vibes here. Maybe we'll find them. But I have to be honest, Bryce, as we sit here on the cusp of this game, I can pinpoint to 15 different reasons why the Giants should finally beat the Dallas Cowboys Sunday. And I could point to where I felt better than most after Sunday. But as the week goes on, I find myself going the other way. Where, you know how, Bryce, so let's be real. In the football world, the diehard fans of which me and you are, the typical cyclical nature after a bad loss is everybody hates the world, right? Your team stinks. They're going nowhere. And by Wednesday, people usually kind of start to find that rallying point and pump themselves up. By Friday, they've talked themselves into why it's going to be different the next week. I have to be fair, as we tape this on Thursday, September 11th, and we will never forget. I'm going the other way, man. I started off where it's not bad. And here I am today going, am I going to be sucked in all year? Am I going to be the sucker here? So I don't know. That's just kind of where I'm at right now, Bryce. So where are you at?
So, as we've kind of sold this podcast, you're the older Giants fan. I'm the younger Giants fan. And I get a lot of hate for it sometimes in the YouTube comments. I get it. I'm a kid, whatever. All I know is pain. All I know in my adult life is incompetence. So you're sitting there saying, oh, you're a kid. You've never experienced anything. Yeah, I know. Yes, I remember exactly where I was. I remember how it felt to win 2 Super Bowls. I have 2 Super Bowls in my life. There was no comparison to how it feels to be a fan as an adult. There was no comparison. If the Giants won the Super Bowl, I could go out on 6th Ave and I could celebrate with the team. I could celebrate with my friends and really enjoy the experience. I never had that as a kid. So this is where we all are. All the people that I talk to, all the young Giants fans out there, we no hope. Zero. They lost that game. We're right back to where we were last year and the year before. And that's just how it will stay until the Giants prove us that, hey, maybe this is a different team. Maybe that was just one bad week that we're going to put behind us. I don't see that. I mean, we'll get into it, but it's very hard to see that.
We'll talk about it. So just overarching, let me just tell you why I stand this way. Obviously, we all know, and we documented, I went down to the game in D.C., came back. That stadium was a dump hole. Didn't really get to see a lot of the 1 o'clock games. And obviously watched the 4 o'clock games, watched that crazy Sunday night game. Then we recorded this podcast. Then Monday Night Football happened with Caleb Williams and J.J. McCarthy. And I felt like Monday night I really got to just sit down, own in, relax, watch football. In the last couple of days, I have just burned through my YouTube Sunday ticket account on all the condensed games that are about 40 minutes or so that I missed. I virtually have watched every game from week 1. I'm a total psychopath when it comes to this. I have a trained community do it. What?
You get the all 22 with
I've gone over some stuff all 22 wise, as well. Where I got to be honest with you, I very much soured on what Darius Slayton did Sunday. I know a lot of people killing Brian Dable and company. He was stuck in mud. He looked like a different player. Dude, here's the deal. This is still different than what I said Sunday or Monday on the podcast still holds. This is different when it comes to hope. Because it's not the same as the last 2 years because of Jackson Dart, right? Because the last couple of years we were like, man, we got to lose because we still haven't drafted a quarterback and we keep going through this Daniel Jones stuff. The Daniel Jones stuff is washed clean. It's gone.
Yeah.
So this is different in a sense that you're going to get to Jackson Dart. And I maintain that wins and losses don't matter. It's about the development of the quarterback and seeing once you have a franchise quarterback, that other stuff can come easy to you roster-wise. And I don't think that this is as barren a roster as it's been the last couple of years, but it has some barren areas, right? But above all of that, I think now where I'm negative, ironically ties into the hope. The way this whole trajectory is, and the way you could read between the lines of Brian Dable looking to get the Jackson Dart, why in my mind do I think that they're suddenly going to have a comeuppance for a week that's going to calm all the fight? To me, this just feels like we're going. We're going to get Dart, boom. And I wouldn't be shocked if it's week 3. If they win in this week, suddenly we quiet that. Then it's hard for me to wrap my brain around Russell Wilson having a great week, and now we quiet everything. He plays again for a couple of weeks, and then we go back to the Dart stuff. It feels like it's now full steam ahead. And I don't know whose fault it is. Well, first of all, the team not playing well leads to it.
But that just does not bode well for the Giants season, not necessarily just, what happens with Russell Wilson, yada, yada, yada. It's the idea of if that continues going to, it's just going to continue for Jackson Dart. If they look incompetent altogether, it's going to be very hard for a quarterback to go in there and completely flip the switch. It's not possible.
So, Bryce, I can't say it's not possible. I'll be very reluctant.
Improbable. Improbable.
Yeah. Look, Russell Wilson, when you watch the tape, and we knew this, he didn't use the middle of the field, and you're taking away a whole thing. He's also he tried in that fourth quarter to be mobile, and you could tell he's just a step slower and all of that stuff. Jackson Dart will provide that, and just like a loose cannon energy that we saw in the preseason. Now, that being said, he's still a rookie quarterback that I expect to make mistakes. I don't think he's Jaden Daniels right away where he takes off. I think he's more of a guy like Jordan Love where he's going to take a beating in his first couple of starts. I do think that. But I also can't say it's improbable. I mean, the Giants are allowed once in a while to hit unbelievably with a stroke of luck. So I don't know where I'd put that. But either way, I just envision this thing getting sooner rather than later. So if I envision that thing, why would I think it's positive about this week? Also, the reason I bring up the Viking-Bear game, the NFL's a joke. J.J. McCarthy winning NFC Player of the Week is an abomination.
So stupid.
I give him credit for the fourth quarter. I do. You hang in there. I think Kevin O'Connell clearly, above anything else, I think that fourth quarter proved that Kevin O'Connell is a legitimate head, even if you had your doubts and, thought some stuff was luck. J.J. McCarthy was not very good, and he's allowed not to be very good, but he stayed in there tough. He did not have his left tackle, okay? He threw a pick six, rebounded. And again, I still didn't think he played good football. And there were the Vikings, couple breaks coming back. I thought Caleb Williams played atrocious football. Okay. And he still had that one answer back late. The bottom line is look at these scoreboards.
Yeah.
Bad quarterback play, in my opinion, or very below average quarterback play with injuries to go around. Offensive line included. I bring that up because of Andrew Thomas. And teams are still, even when it doesn't look good, functioning at a level where you're not scoring 6 points, right? So that is where, again, my negativity lies. Just watch the rest of the league. Everything we're talking about is reasons why the team stinks. And I agree. The offensive line also, figure it out, dude. Then allocate, then maybe draft Joe Alt 2 years ago instead of Malik Neighbors, and I wanted Neighbors. Yep. We can't keep pinning the offensive line as a disaster, and it was a disaster.
I mean, James Hudson might have been the worst tackle in football.
And I think it does get better with Andrew Thomas. I won't lie to that, but it still should also be a level of functionality where you're not just scoring 6 points. Again, it was week one in the NFL, and week ones are always kind of weird, but the Giants haven't earned that benefit of the doubt. But that's why I lean negative. Watching the rest of the league on their worst day, if it makes sense, is why I'm more negative. And just the idea of, you could tell the focus is on Jackson Dart, and where do we think the Flames get fanned? Now, they can. And Russell Wilson also, let me just say, as we talk about this week 2 game for the Dallas Cowboys, we're looking at this through a Giants prism, right? And as we should be, we're a Giants podcast, Bryce. From a Giants prism, we're all right, let's get to Jackson Dart at some point here so we show fire. Russell Wilson's also playing for his career. I mean, if he looks bad 2 straight weeks and gets benched after 2 weeks, Mike Tomlin gave up on him. Sean Payton gave up on him. Russell Wilson still wants to play football and be that guy who's a veteran somewhere. And he knew the deal when the Giants drafted a first rounder. So I'm faulting him. I think he's handling it fine. But if Russell Wilson has any, kind of process, you got to go take some deep shots this week versus the Dallas Cowboys and show the world that, hey, I can't control when the Giants go to Jackson Dart, but I can control the narrative on me and my lasting image as a starting quarterback before I'm elsewhere in 2026. Would you agree with that?
And there's no doubt about that this week. I get in the grand scheme of things, it's now week 2, and we're very close to seeing Jackson Dart. So we no better time for Russell Wilson than against this Cowboys secondary, which is as beat up as any other secondary in all of football. You really want to prove yourself. You want to show that you still got the moon ball. There is going to be no better time and no better environment than AT&T Stadium this week. You want the opportunity to prove yourself? You want the opportunity to continue starting for the Giants? This is it, because you get this win and you play, you pass for, let's say, 300, 350 yards. You buy yourself an extra 2 or 3 weeks. It's not just 1 week. It's Russell Wilson did that. he still has it. You know what I mean? If he continues to string together these terrible performances, yeah, he's done. But there's no better time than to do it against the Cowboys. We'll get into it, but
so let's get into the let's get into the matchup itself. So we are taping this on Thursday morning, as I said, and again, we find ourselves after the best. You like to do the show on Thursday morning because Wednesday is usually a good dictator of practice. But the way the Giants are handling Andrew Thomas, he doesn't practice Wednesday. He's expected to practice Thursday or Friday. Again, depending on when you're listening to this, you may know the outcome. Unfortunately, when you're in the non-live business, as we are here on the podcast world, you can only react to the information you have. He is scheduled to take the field in shells Thursday and Friday. I believe that Andrew Thomas sees what happens and understands the urgency of him getting on the field. I do believe that. And I believe that the Giants don't want to put Jackson Dart on the field without Andrew Thomas yet, just for his own sanity. I don't know, but it'd be impossible for me to gauge. It's very easy to say, hey, Andrew Thomas isn't playing. I think a lot of people would lean that way. But again, we're always going to say that until we see him actually play. So who knows? And that's where we're at here. Cowboys beat up. Deron Bland hurt himself in practice on Monday. As of Thursday morning, it looks like he can miss multiple weeks. So I would assume he is out on Sunday. If he is out, I mean, that is a playmaker in their secondary. We saw that pass rush struggle versus the Eagles as they kind of kept them off kilter without Micah Parsons. If I were to tell you, hey, remember all the problems the Giants have versus Cowboy defense? Imagine facing one without DeMarcus Lawrence, Micah Parsons, and Deron Bland. What would you say? You would say you like your chances, right?
Yeah.
So that is where, I guess, if you want to look towards optimism, and that is why I'm not going to be full of excuses for this team if they can't move the ball at all. This is a Cowboy defense that's susceptible. It totally is. And I mean, you just hit on it, Bryce, right? AT&T Stadium, beat up secondary, moon balls, all this stuff. I don't know what to expect out of the run game because our offensive line's not going to change much on the interior, but this is not a great defensive tackle group. It's not like the Commanders' defensive tackle group either. Forget dealing with Dak for a second, and we'll talk about it. Just from a Cowboys defense versus Giants offense, this is an advantageous matchup for the Giants offense. It is. But they have to prove that otherwise. Like, we can't envision it doing it, but it's kind of a no-excuse defense you're facing.
Yeah, I mean, you got Reddy Stewart. Reddy Stewart, who played 2 games with the Bears last year with Matt Eberflus, comes over. He might be playing in the slot. He might be playing in the slot. And you got Trayvon Diggs, who played 45% of snaps against the Eagles last week, who might be their second cornerback. Maybe he might be slotted into the first cornerback role. He played the nickel last week. So now he's going to be put into that big role. And you know, the rookie they have, Elam, who got absolutely cooked last week. Cooked. Terrible last week. And these are the guys that you're going to entrust to stop the albeit terrible Giants offense. It doesn't bode itself well for any team. So I look at these injuries and I look at the potential opportunity here for the Giants, and it's make or break. You got to show something. This team has destroyed you. This team has had your number. The opposing quarterback is 2-13 against you. He hasn't lost against you since 2016. You really got to prove something here. And again, I keep reiterating this. There's no better opportunity, at least for the offense, than in this game.
No doubt. So now let's flip it to the other sides of the ball. Dak Prescott kills the Giants. But Dak Prescott, let's all admit, if you watch the game while he was making throws and CeeDee Lamb threw it, like Jalen, I keep saying like a lot. I'm doing a lot of stuff I would not teach in Iona radio classes, and I'm catching myself. Jalen Carter getting ejected out of that game early changed everything and allowed the Cowboys offensive line to settle in. Dexter Lawrence has to be better than he was on Sunday. He had his baby, by the way. Congratulations. His wife had his baby. Dexter Lawrence has to be the presence that Jalen Carter was missing to disrupt things up the middle for Dak Prescott, who I admit looks slower on the mobility train. He's killed the Giants in the past, being able to roll out and all of that. I am very fearful. How could you not? CeeDee Lamb's one of the best receivers in football. And George Pickens is a total knucklehead, a total head case. But, you know, he still presents a challenge. That is where this game is going to be won or lost. Forget the Giant offense for a second. It's got to do its job. If Dak Prescott is able to get on the move and pick apart a Giants secondary with CeeDee Lamb and George Pickens, that is inevitably how the Giants will lose this game. But we talked about it all summer, and there were points last week where it happened and Jaden Daniels was rushed. This kind of game and this kind of matchup is why you invest heavily in a defensive front that many on paper wanted to call one of the best in football. Abdul Carter, Brian Burns, Kayvon Thibodeau, Dexter Lawrence, and, dare I say, throw in the wrinkle of former Cowboy who should have a little bit of a blueprint here in Shaun Golston. They need to make Dak Prescott's life and that Cowboys offensive line's life a living hell. Because if he's allowed to sit back there and he gets rid of the ball quick, 3 seconds, boom, and is finding CeeDee Lamb in the slot, going over a Drew Phillips or a Cordell Flott, or George Pickens is going over the top, and we assume that Paulson Adebo is going to travel on the outsides. I don't know if he'll travel on the inside with CeeDee Lamb. If they don't get home, Dak Prescott will still pick apart the secondary as improved as we think it is. And it still has holes. That's what it's about. This is why you put the pass rush together, to beat Dak Prescott and this Dallas Cowboys team. I made excuses for the defense last week. I still think you get out of there only giving up 21 points to Jaden Daniels. You should find a way to score points and win the game. The offense has to do its job. You can't allow the Cowboys to hang 30 on you in this game.
There were multiple fireable offenses from Shane Bowen last week as defensive coordinator of the Giants. Number one for me, we'd be sitting here all day discussing this. It'd be like the Israel-Palestine situation. Number one for me, Kayvon Thibodeau, Brian Burns, Abdul Carter, and Dexter Lawrence. 4 snaps. 4 snaps. All game, or no, 8 snaps all together. It's the same thing. 8 snaps. We've discussed it. We just said it. This might be, I think, in my opinion, it's the best defensive line in football. And those 4 guys, your 4 best guys, 8 snaps. 8 snaps.
Yeah, I agree.
It makes no, you got to try it out more. Like, it makes no sense to me. Again, we could talk about this all day. But
well, can I give you a wrinkle here? And I'm not sure how I feel about it. Obviously we got the bad news on Micah McFadden, which is odd because I kind of expected him to miss the season the moment he got carted off. And then there was some positive news, and now he could return later in the year. If he can, by the way, I think he will try to, because remember, Micah McFadden's playing for a contract, and he doesn't want to go out on that note, and it costs some money and all of that. This regime has hyped up their own late day 3 draft pick in Darius Muasau, so I'm assuming we're going to see him, but he gave that touchdown. It was tough. He has full week of practice here with the starters. But how about this for a wrinkle? Because he did it in college. Abdul Carter getting on the field at all as an inside linebacker while you're playing those other guys? Is that possible? Is Shane Bowen smart enough to scheme a way where... Now, I still want Abdul Carter rushing the passer. That's why you brought him here. But I think that there's a way to disguise a lot of stuff with Abdul Carter at the inside linebacker position to have him break through and go nuts. I think that there has not, even if it's not full time, some of the snap load that Micah McFadden had that maybe Abdul Carter was off the field for in a game 1. Is there any way to fit some of those snaps in here at an inside linebacker role for Abdul Carter?
There better be, because Abdul Carter was only on the field for 51% of the defensive snaps for the Giants. Here's your loophole to get him on the field 80-90% of the time.
Now, Shane Bowen's gotten killed for all this, and I totally understand because I had issues with some of the times Dexter Lawrence was off. Look around the NFL. Unfortunately, because of the way the preseason is and the conditioning, like that happens a lot. And as the season goes on, you would expect them to play more snaps. So I do think that was more week 1 really, but I would rev it up, man. This is an important game. It is. 0-2 in the division hurts. And it hurts in the aspect if you want to make the playoffs. But I don't think anybody's looking at it from that point of view. I just think we're looking at it from a morale crashing ship point of view. And, that's where we're at. So, look, we laid out the matchup for you, what we expect, all of that. I laid out that I'm more negative. Bryce feels negative. I don't want to be. I want to believe. So let's have some. What? So let's have some fun with our fantasy versus reality and what we think here. Can you tell I'm beaten down? All right, fantasy play for me. How is it not Malik Neighbors? Look at this Cowboys secondary. Malik Neighbors, by the way, I'm going to give Malik Neighbors credit. He has answered everything early in this week, including the Wednesday pressers, I think like gold. He did the I have the natural bitch face thing. He talked about after the game that Brian Dable and everybody expect him to have, more leadership and speak up when he's frustrated. Like, I do think that there's some diva wide receiver stuff, but I expect that with most of the number 1 wide receivers in the NFL. So I take the good with the bad. But I do think that Malik Neighbors, as opposed to last year, certainly sounds like he's saying the right things, even if visibly he's on there. That being said, you can't tell me there's not going to be an effort, especially from a guy like Russell Wilson who knows who his best target is, to just get that ball in Malik Neighbors' hands as much as possible, especially against a secondary like this, as fast as possible. So he had, 12 targets, only caught 5 balls. I think Malik Neighbors got to catch like 9 to 10 balls, even if there's some scheme stuff this week. Wouldn't stun me if he found his way to the end zone. I guess it would stun me if the Giants found their way to the end zone, period, because we got to see it. So it's the layup one. It's the easy one, Bryce. But just the matchup dictates everything. Like, when you consider Russell Wilson has to try to go down swinging, when you consider how much this guy wants the ball, when you consider how banged up the Cowboys secondary is, it's got to be Malik Neighbors for me as my fantasy prop play in this game.
Reality? I guess we do fantasy first.
Yeah, exactly.
All right. Well, Wan'Dale Robinson is might not play in this game. He's got the ankle. He missed yesterday. Of course, we're recording this Thursday morning. I think
it looks like he's gonna play. By the way,
he'll play. It looks like he'll play.
Yeah.
And if he does play, that's my pick. It's Wan'Dale Robinson. I think it's very easy to say Malik Neighbors, and I'd say him every week. I think it's very easy to say the top one of the top 5 receivers in the NFL, considering the lack of talent the Giants have elsewhere. I don't think they're going to run the ball well, considering the fact that the Cowboys held Saquon Barkley to 3.3 yards per carry. Of course, the reigning offensive player of the year had one of the best seasons in NFL history. That says a lot about what they were trying to do there and trying to stop the run. The Giants have got that two-headed snake, of course, with Tyrone Tracy and Cam Scadaboo only had 2 rushes last week. I think you see that change after all the backlash for the Giants. They didn't give him the ball enough at the goal line. They'll give the ball to Cam Scadaboo, I guarantee you, at least 4 or 5 more times. I digress. Wan'Dale Robinson is going to get a lot of targets in this game. Who the hell is going to be matched up against him? Whether it be in the slot or on the outs, like who is it going to be? There are a lot of question marks. I think maybe you see Diggs squared up with Neighbors for the majority of the game, but I feel like you're going to get a lot of mixing and matching. I don't know who the hell, like Stewart. I don't know who is going to be brought in there, but I think when you consider how many times Wan'Dale Robinson was targeted last week, I think it's a safe bet. If you're looking for a flex play, you should start Wan'Dale Robinson.
Okay, I like it. Now the reality of how the Giants could possibly win this game, and then we'll give our game pick on what we think is actually going to happen. You hit on something with the Cowboys stopping the Giants' run. I'm not calling for the Giants to run the hell out of the ball because, look, I don't have faith that they will.
Yeah.
This is more about the Giants' defense to me in this game. Javonte Williams, early in that first half, the moment Jalen Carter went out, they found something there, and it allowed everything to settle down. If they are not able to run the ball early in that game becomes a blowout versus the Philadelphia Eagles. And I think missing Jalen Carter was a huge deal. You need just a monstrous game where Dexter Lawrence is eating up, and this team on the outsides on that run game early cannot break contain. Like Brian Burns cannot go inside. You got to maintain some freaking discipline in the gap. If this Giant team is able to keep the Cowboys in a lot of 3rd and longs because they're not letting Javonte go nuts on these early downs, while I think CD will obviously make a few plays in this game, while I think George Pickens can make a couple plays down there, you're not going to totally wipe them out. But the more 3rd and longs you keep going, the more you allow the strength of your team, the pass rush, just to pin their ears back as Dak Prescott goes. And I think Dak Prescott will swallow a couple sacks in this game. It's all about stopping the Cowboys' very mediocre run game and not allowing it to look like an electric run game early. If you do that, you allow the strength of your defense to play a part. And that is what keeps this game under 23 points for the Dallas Cowboys and gives yourself, not saying the Giants will do it, an opportunity versus a beat-up secondary to hit a couple shot plays, and then who knows where you are in the 4th quarter of a game to figure this out. It is all, to me, the reality of the game about stopping a mediocre Cowboy run game and not allowing it to look like Barry Sanders.
Yeah, similarly to what you're saying, the Giants win this game if they get to the quarterback. Dak Prescott not sacked once last week. There was only one game last year in which Dak was not sacked once, and you guessed it was against the Giants. You got to get to the quarterback. You got to fluster Dak. One game that comes to mind is last year against the Lions, in which they won by like 50 points.
Yeah.
Dak Prescott was done early on in that game. The Lions were getting to the quarterback force. That was the game Aiden Hutchinson's leg almost snapped off. But before the Aiden Hutchinson injury, they were getting to him with ease. Right. And you saw how quickly that game broke down because he broke down because that's what happens to Dak Prescott when you get to him consistently. You got to get to Dak Prescott. As you said, to your credit, Dexter Lawrence was nowhere to be found in the last game. Of course, I watched a lot of film. He got doubled. He gets doubled more than any other defensive lineman in the NFL. It's not even close. You got to find a way to get him involved, and I think it's from running those 4 guys together, in more than 8 snaps in a game, and whether it be after a quarter, like, it doesn't matter. You got to get them on the field more than 8 times in a game. Elijah Garcia, a guy they picked up from the practice squad last week, should not be playing 6 snaps in a game against the Cowboys in this big of a must-win game. Shaun, it's all about getting to the quarterback. It's all about, I think you get to the quarterback, then you can worry about stopping the run and vice versa. But you got a little smile on your face.
I'm just
find out a piece of information or what?
No, I didn't find out a piece of it. I'm just laughing because you're talking all these things into my mind that I want so badly to buy in. But I guess
I'm not saying it's going to happen. I'm not saying it's going to happen. I'm just saying, hey, could.
Here we go. Game pick. The Vegas line on this game is 5.5. It actually opened at 4.5, already swung back that way. I think the Vegas line is going to be telling. I think it's going to be on the number in this game. I do think the Giants are going to find their way to the end zone twice in this game. I do. I think that you're going to even see a moon ball. I wouldn't even shock me if the Giants led this game like 7-0. You got the ball and you go down the field, whether it's Slayton or neighbors, like, oh, wow, all right. They woke up. But I do think, ironically, the reality is going to sit in. What I talked about with the Giants stopping the run, I don't think will happen. I think they are going to move. I think Javonte Williams is going to have a big day. I think he finds his way to the end zone. And I think that this is going to be heartbreak city for the Giants, where they lose a game by a touchdown, 24-17, and the Cowboys just barely cover the number. And I think we wake up confounded. I think we will wake up sadly because the team scored 17 points, feeling better about the offense. Like, all right, you scored a couple touchdowns or positives, and the theme will be killing the defense. That again, they weren't able to stop the run, where last week was killing the offense. And then you're left in this paradox of, well, are you going to Jackson Dart? But really our issue is with the defense this week. I totally foresee that being the talking point. So the Giants lose the game 24-17 and leave us in even more of a frustrating conversation on what's next for week 3.
So you're picking the Giants to cover? Because this is now what we're doing. We're both going one.
No, the Cowboys to cover.
Okay, Cowboys
close enough on the number, though.
Okay. All right. Well, game pick. I'm just going to start with the line. The Giants are not going to cover in this game. I don't think. I think you take Cowboys plus 5.5. I think or take Cowboys minus 5.5. In this game, Shaun, I think that you're going to see the Giants are going to prioritize getting to the quarterback. I think that's going to be, hey, we got to prove everyone wrong. We saw what happened last week. Yeah, we had 3 sacks, but we allowed Jaden Daniels to run rampant on our defense. The Giants need to limit chunk plays. I don't think they're going to be able to do that. We saw what happened on all those second down plays last week, in which the Giants had them dead to rights, and just like that, they were within 5 or 6 yards in terms of being able to convert that the third down. I think the Giants will get crushed all game. Like I can't foresee a circumstance in which the Giants look competent enough where we're sitting here next week saying, I feel really good about where this football team is at. And I know that's not saying much, but at the same time, the Giants have such a good opportunity, as I said, with how beaten up the Cowboys secondary is. Anything less than a 300-yard performance from Russell Wilson is a massive failure, in my opinion, depending on how much they decide to throw the ball. With what the Cowboys did against Saquon Barkley last week, I've got the Cowboys winning this game 21-10. I think the Giants finally get into the end zone. Congratulations. We can lift that hex from our heads. The Giants still can only muster 10 points, and we're sitting here on Sunday after the game saying the sky is falling. I'll let Chicken Little.
Well, if they lose 21-10, I think Jackson Dart's starting versus the Chiefs. I'll just say that. Wow. That would be my prediction. So we will see, Bryce. We will see. And we will be back after the game on Sunday into Monday, and away we go. You guys, you could tell I
can't do it. I can't do it again. I need meaningful content. Like I want to put together something.
Look at my hand on my face.
For the listeners, for us, for all of us, we're all in the same boat here. The millions and millions of fans who are as dejected as humanly possible watching this football team week in and week out. And over the last 2 years, something's got to give. I said this last week. Something's got to give.
I'm mentally broken. Hopefully they unbreak me. Unbreak my heart. Say you love me again. That was a song, wasn't it?
You're a big singer this week, huh?
I am. You got to fight for your right to start Jackson Doherty. All right. Download and subscribe to One Giant Step everywhere podcasts are available. At Bryce Gelman on Twitter and X. At Shaun Morash on Twitter and X. It's Cowboy Week. Can we have a moment? Can we have a freaking moment? And if we do, we'll be back to celebrate it right here on One Giant Step.